Andrew Le Jeune here with your Asian Racing Review, joined as always by editor of the AsianRacingReport.com, Michael Cox. And Michael, a lot to get through this week. We've got Hong Kong, we've got Japan, we've got classic success in France for a former Hong Kong-based trainer, and looking ahead to the weekend as well. We'll dive straight into it though, talking about Hong Kong and not the Hong Kong Macau Trophy that raced on the weekend or any of the other results, but Wagner Borges and Sylvester de Sousa called into inquiry on Friday and both found guilty in breach of Rule 59.3, which states, and I'll read it just to make sure I get this exactly right, no jockey shall bet or facilitate the making of a bet or have any interest in a bet on any race or any contingency relating to a race meeting. And that was Young Brilliant at Happy Valley back on the 26th of April. They both pleaded guilty. Wagner got 12 months, Sylvester got 10 months. So as we sit here right now, Sylvester is appealing the severity, I think, of the ban. Wagner, not at this point.
Yeah, great to be joining you. And it's always huge news out of Hong Kong whenever there's a betting-related ban, suspension or disqualification. You know, going back 5 years ago, we saw Nash Rawiller get 15 months for a similar charge. One of the rule breaches was a rule that Borges and de Sousa have been charged with, and then going back a long time now, back to 2006, 7, 2008, Chris Muntz, when he received 30 months and also was jailed. Now, one of the key differences is between this charge and those charges is that the ICAC are not involved in these charges. It's purely a Hong Kong Jockey Club matter at this stage. Obviously, huge news, and not a lot we can say about the details of it because it's a bit of a closed shop at the moment. An inquiry is still pending, but just takeaways from it, I guess we can talk about. It's always it doesn't look good for the Hong Kong Jockey Club when this happens. Obviously, and if they are found guilty and this does flow through, it's sort of there's a bit of pressure now on the Jockey Club as far as licensing. No small matter included is the fact that there could be two jockeys that they need to replace. One of them, Sylvester de Sousa, that is had a pretty great season so far.
45 winners.
Yeah, it's a significant chunk. He's a lightweight. Just when the Jockey Club are just starting to get some momentum and attracting some names back, Brenton Abdullah recently added to the jockey roster there. They're going to have to find another one. Wagner Borges, maybe not so hard to replace in terms of wins. And, you know, in Michael Cox on Monday, my weekly column today, I write about just the pressure that the licensing committee are under here. Post-COVID, there's no excuses now for the replenishment of the jockey roster. And add to that the fact that the club now have given the licensing committee a few more carrots to dangle in front of overseas jockeys. They've granted a lot more freedoms, and Zach Purton has cited those freedoms, the ability to come and go, ride in overseas races and come back, as one of the reasons why he will stay in Hong Kong and extend his career. And there's also jockeys have been given the option to live off course with more generous rent subsidies than they were previously, and a few other little perks as well. But I think one of the points I'd like to make is that at the bottom end of the jockey roster, there shouldn't be jockeys there that have lost support and that are sitting around riding triple figure chances. It's just replenishing the bottom end of the jockey ranks. Let's just sort of keep it moving over. Sometimes it doesn't mean like when a jockey has fallen out of favor and is going for a bad run that they can't come back one day. But allowing the jockey roster to stagnate, idle hands, let's just say, and the incentive to win. So what the Jockey Club do really well is stringent integrity measures and the powers to be able to seize jockeys' mobile phones, check their bank accounts. They have some really solid powers to be able to police integrity and these matters. What I would say is, and that the prize money is tremendous as well. That's a number one disincentive to say race fixing, which isn't what's being alleged here, but in terms of upholding integrity, great prize money is a great incentive to win. But if you're riding horses that can't win, you might find another way. Now, that doesn't explain why these two jockeys have allegedly conspired to back a horse of Dennis Yip's at Happy Valley, Young Brilliant. It didn't win. That's going to be that's going to be good one day. If you're like, what did you get time for? Oh, backing one in Hong Kong. Did it win? No. It was one of his strike rate since the last, just as a fun fact, Dennis Yip's strike rate since the last start of last season at Happy Valley, 2.7%.
The question you always come back when something like this happens, the first question most people ask, just in the general population, is why? Why do you do it? Particularly when you look at De Sousa, he's ridden 45 winners this season. He's always well supported when he goes to Hong Kong, and he's been quite open the fact that he does these little trips to make money, basically, because he can make in Hong Kong in 3 or 4 months what he does an entire season riding in the UK. As you mentioned, Varg, he's only had 7 winners this season, but again, he's had success in the past and plenty of opportunity to have a nice lifestyle there. But the question is, and I guess we can only answer, or they can answer the question, is why would you do it?
Well, why would you go wider? Here's the thing. Hong Kong is probably, per race, Hong Kong is the most lucrative circuit to ride in the world. You know, JRA has some great prize money as well, but Hong Kong, week in, week out. And there's also, one of the misconceptions I think about Hong Kong racing when these charges come up around betting and tipping, is that it's not allowed. Well, it is allowed. You are allowed to tip. What the rule states is that you can't tip to someone other than the owner or trainer of the horse that you are riding. And that owner and trainer, that slings do exist. And the prize money is the best in the world. The slings are lucrative. Why do anything else other than that? If you're trying and you're capable, Hong Kong is a great place to ride. So I guess we leave it at that. More will be revealed. A fascinating appeal process coming up.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave that to one side for now. In Hong Kong, we move to Japan, the Victoria Mile on the weekend. It was Sodashi week as well. Damian Lane on board, always looking good with probably even still 50 to run. And Songline has come along and spoiled the party.
Yeah, Sodashi, great run. And maybe just a wide barrier and a very long Tokyo straight. It just goes that little bit longer than you think it's going to. When you're watching, it's a real test, Tokyo. And yeah, for all but a couple of strides, Sodashi led the way up the front.
Was there any criticism of Damian Lane's ride?
There was, look, some. There's not a huge amount of scrutiny around rides in Japan and big race rides, but maybe I just heard a little bit of a murmur that too aggressive out of the gates. Did he go too early? Look, I would say on the way he positioned the horse, I thought he rode perfectly. And if you watch a lot of Damian Lane's rides in Japan, this is how he has to ride. And there's one just little subtlety about racing in Japan that Lane has been able to adapt, himself to, is that maybe the ideal spot. So he's ridden aggressively out of the gates and he's found a place outside of the lead. He's been very prominent, and that takes some energy. But one of the problems we're trying to find a spot one off a little bit back off the speed is in Japan, if a horse is 3 wide, come around, that typically, as opposed to Australia in a big race or Hong Kong, if someone's 3 wide, that's where they're staying. They're not letting them in. If you're sitting there, not going to... If you end up 2 or 3 pairs back, that one off, that can quickly become 4 or 5 pairs back.
Yeah.
Because people can come in and get in front of you. The other factor is in big races in Japan, we all talk about the depth and the strength of Group 1 races in Japan, but if you actually have a look at the odds for these big races, there's a lot of deadwood down the bottom, some triple figure chances, some genuine 200 to 1 shots in races. You do not want to end up behind horses. It's not like there's a multitude of horses in the race that can take you into the race. I thought he rode it perfectly. And often the criticism is a bit silly sometimes, isn't it? When a horse is beaten by a stride, by a head, and there's not that there's this criticism, widespread criticism of the ride, but think we've just got to be careful that he has given this horse every chance, and she has run a tremendous race. Only for your tip in the race, Songline, to come and go bang and do it exactly how you described it would happen, Andrew. So we're certainly not going to say it was ridden badly because it just played out how we thought. Maybe Sodashi, with her overwhelming popularity, was just a little bit shorter in the market than she should be. And our readers certainly benefited by taking the double figure odds around Songline and also opposing Stars on Earth, who she's had some injuries. She's working her way back. And she ran on for a nice third, bit too sharp for her, but looking ahead to some longer races, one to watch.
Yeah, all right, you're only as good as your last time. We'll keep moving forward. And actually, just on Japan, we're getting ever closer to the next round of classics as well, with the Yushin Himba and the Tokyo Yushin coming up, and two outstanding horses to look forward to. Liberty Island first in the Oaks.
Liberty Island's a freak, and if you haven't seen her replays from, going right back to her first start in a race. So we're talking about a newcomers race, and in Japan, newcomers races are just entirely for first starters, the whole field. And on a very first trip to the races, Liberty Island ran the fastest ever final 600 meter sectional recorded in Japan Racing Association history. So the writing was on the wall pretty early, and she's come out with subsequent wins since. In a couple of Group 1s, the last one being her 1,000 guineas win on the Oka show, as it's known, which was just a freak show performance that we saw here. So get the popcorn out on Sunday. She might be just a watch on, looking at maybe one of the shortest priced favourites in Oaks history.
And then Solorion's coming up in the Derby after that.
Yeah, he looks like the equivalent. Maybe not quite as short, but wouldn't it be great to have seen them clash? That would be some sort of puzzle for the punters to work out who would start favourites there. Start favourite there. Solorion's a favourite in the Derby. Go to AsianRacingReport.com. Check out the Tokyo Yushin rankings, where our experts have ranked the top 18 there. Learn a little bit about some of the rising stars of the Japanese ranks.
All right, we're staying on the classic theme. We move to France, the reason being, this is Asian Racing Report, but to touch on the success of a former Hong Kong-based trainer in Andreas Schütz, who enjoyed another classic win. It's been a while for him. He moved to France about 7 years ago, but something of an upset in the Poulain, the French 2,000 Guineas.
Yeah, what a turnaround for Andreas Schütz, a former trainer of Good Baba, the champion Hong Kong horse, which, if you go back and look at the career trajectory of Andreas Schütz, he was a champion. Well, he's a 4-time champion in his homeland, a fourth generation trainer in Germany. His father Bruno was a champion as well. He really had that pedigree and lineage to be able to be a star, and he was attracted to Hong Kong. Came to Hong Kong after success in he won the Singapore Airlines Cup back in the day. He'd had success in Asia and traveling horses, came to Hong Kong, and he was the original trainer of Good Baba. But after 2 straight Hong Kong Mile wins and winning everything for 2 seasons, the owner, on the advice of his Feng Shui expert, took the horse off Andreas Schütz, which is, out of all the reasons to lose a horse, might be the worst one of all time.
Toughest to swallow.
Yeah. And it kind of does, if it's the Feng Shui, well, it kind of like self-fulfilling, really, isn't it? It was pretty bad luck that he lost the horse, and things didn't go well for Andreas Schütz after that. In fact, it was put him into a bit of a spiral of negativity and poor results. And yeah, he was part of the Olympic Stables group, the trio that are no longer there, that we touched on last week, Sean Woods and David Ferraz. None of them are there anymore, but I'm glad to see Andreas Schütz, because when he went back, he wasn't met with like a full suite of support. He certainly was behind the 8 ball, and now, back on the Group 1 scoreboard, and hopefully onwards and upwards.
Yeah, beating Isaac Shelby, his horse Mahara Yasanafi, and he only just finished. It was amazing, the price release. He only just finished behind the favourite for the Guineas, American flag, the start before. It was Blue Rose Sen, who won the fillies version, the Poulish, on the weekend as well. Isaac Shelby, look out for him heading to Royal Ascot. All right, coming up this weekend, Singapore will be front and centre with the Kranji Mile.
Yeah, simulcast race for the Hong Kong Jockey Club, Kranji there in Singapore, big races, and really great to see the Singapore Turf Club revitalising the big race schedule. And maybe the prize money hasn't risen up, but it's good to have that structure from outside so you can follow the races at least from outside when group races and feature race comes up. A couple of things to watch for there. Street of Dreams for Steve Burridge, a horse to watch on the rise from our spies in Singapore, telling us to look out for him. It's his first shot at level weights. He's won 6 of 12 coming into this. He's one of the leading contenders. And also Lims Kosciuszko for Dan Ma. He's trying to win it back-to-back. Lims Lightning, the winner last year. Lims Lightning, he competed in Hong Kong at the international races. He's taking a steady road back and will reappear for the revitalised sprint series starting in, I think, late August.
Okay. On the website, asianracingreport.com, you mentioned your column coming up. What else are we looking for this week?
Well, we've got some great stuff from David Morgan, who was in Japan with our Chinese language editor, Bobby Lung, last week for the Victoria Mile and the NHK Mile Cup before that. And he's managed to get some sit-down interviews with some of Japan racing's biggest names. So wait and see. Keep a lookout in the next week or two for those. Some really great feature writing from David.
All right, excellent. LJ Confidential this week as well, looking for more international success. We've got the Kranji Mile you touched on, and also the Lockinge Stakes as well as a simulcast race in Hong Kong this weekend. I think that's just about it though. Thanks as always.
Great, thank you.
All right, like and subscribe. Keep following us on all the social channels as well, and tuning in for more from Asian Racing Review.